Oh, hello there. My name's Laura Davison. I'm a second year sports engineer, and today I'm going to tell you about golf sounds.
Just in the off case that you didn't know, golf is a club and ball sport in which the objective is to get the lowest number of strokes or the lowest score at the end of an 18-hole course. The modern game of golf originated in 15th century Scotland, however, the game's ancient origins are unclear and leave much to be debated. Golfers like to choose a club that has a good feel to it. Now, the feel of the shot is hugely impacted by the sound in which it makes. This can be due to a combination of both the club and the ball, and it can vary with each club and ball that you change. Now, the aim of the paper I read was to further explore the relationship between the impact sound and elite golfers' subjective perception of the shot. Questionnaires were used to quantify the golfer's perception of the shot, and measurements were put in place to test the impact of the sound of each shot. Now, impact sounds in golf are short in duration, and from this study it can be seen that they range frequencies between 1 and 10 kHz, whilst the instantaneous sound pressure level, measured at the ear, reaches peaks of up to 127 decibels. Impulsive sounds such as these will have certain characteristics as such. They include loudness, pitch, timbre, duration, sharpness, volume and density, and they can all be linked to qualities of the acoustic pressure and its frequency content. However, these sort of concepts are really difficult to understand. Now, only elite golfers were used in this test, and what we mean by that is ones that had handicaps less than 5. So 20 elite golfers were used, and they were all aged between 20 and 55. They participated in all the tests, however, 3 of these golfers' results actually got ruled out, the reason being either their ball striking was inconsistent or they displayed an obvious lack of concentration throughout the test. Now, the remaining 17 golfers had an average age of 35 years old. One of the golfers was a tour professional, 8 were club professionals, 6 were assistant professionals, and 2 were amateur golfers. 9 of the golfers were American, of which 8 were male and there was 1 female. Then the remaining 8 were British males. 10 different types of clubs were used to carry out this study. This included 5 modern titanium club heads that all had varying sound characteristics. Along with this, 5 older club heads were used, made of steel, laminated wood, persimmon and graphite. Normally identical 3-piece wound balls were used for every test. All 17 of the tests were conducted outdoors at different driving ranges. The golfers were asked to hit the ball into a net. This was to prevent the flight of the ball, which could in turn influence their responses. On arrival, the test procedure was clearly outlined to each of the participants. The 5 questions to be answered after each shot were described and also presented on a wall board. This was so that we could have ease of recollection of each of the questions for the golfers. Now, the golfers were asked to avoid allowing any preconceptions of clubs or manufacturers' equipment to affect their judgment and to rate each shot on its own merit. The order in which each club was used was totally random throughout the complete set of tests. 13 of the golfers hit 5 shots with each of the 10 clubs, and then 4 of the golfers hit 3 shots with each club. All subjective and objective measurements were recorded for each shot played. The 5 subjective ratings were pleasantness, sharpness, loudness, hardness and liveliness, and they were initially correlated with each other to investigate relationships between the field characteristics. In order to measure these linear relationships, the Pearson method was used between each combination of subjective ratings. And initially, correlation coefficients were calculated individually for each golfer to investigate whether any relationships that emerged held for all of the golfers. Strong correlations were discovered between many of the field characteristics, although considerable intra-subject variations were also observed. Based on the correlation coefficients, 14 of the 17 golfers tested in the study could be grouped into 3 distinct categories. The remaining 3 showed significant individual traits. For each of the 3 groups, the mean and standard deviation of the correlation coefficients for each pair of subjective ratings were calculated, and the results are illustrated in these sort of star diagrams. Basically, each line represents the relationship between the two field characteristics it connects. The mean is highlighted in bold and the standard deviation is highlighted in italics. Solid lines represent a positive correlation, whilst dashed lines represent a negative correlation. For the 7 golfers in Group A, all of the field characteristics are strongly related and the correlation coefficients are all positive, indicating that a pleasant feeling shot has a sharp, loud sound and a hard, lively feel. For the 4 subjects in Group B, the characteristics are also strongly related, but the hardness of feel for this group of golfers is negatively related to the other characteristics, so a pleasant feeling shot has a sharp, loud sound and a lively feel, but it's been rated by this group as having a soft feel. Finally, 3 golfers formed Group C, and again the characteristics, pleasantness and liveliness of feel, and sharpness and loudness of sound are all strongly related in a positive manner. For this group of golfers, however, hardness of feel is completely unrelated to any of the other characteristics, with the majority of coefficients being completely insignificant. So there was obviously a remaining 3 golfers. Now, they showed individual traits and they didn't fit into groups A to C. In particular for these golfers, the pleasantness of feel did not correlate strongly with either the perceived sharpness or the loudness of the impact sound. Combining all of the normalised data gave the correlation coefficients that we can see in the table. They are strongly greater in magnitude than the coefficients obtained with the raw subjective data. There are strong correlations between the characteristics sharpness, loudness and liveliness of feel, with Pearson's coefficients greater than 0.8, which indicates that almost all of the golfers agree that these characteristics are related in a positive manner. This means that crisper, sharper sounds are perceived to be louder and are associated with a livelier feel. These 3 characteristics also correlate strongly and in a positive manner with the overall pleasantness of feel, but the Pearson coefficients are smaller, quantifying the extent of the variation between the golfers that didn't fit any of the groups. In order to correlate the subjective and objective data, different quantitative parameters were calculated for each impact sound measurement. This included decay rate, sound pressure level, Zwicker loudness, centroid of a spectrum and the sharpness. The objective data and the normalised subjective responses from all of the elite golfers were then combined and the Pearson correlation coefficients were calculated for each combination of sound parameter and subjective ratings. It can be seen from these coefficients that the 4 field characteristics all correlate in a positive manner with the sound parameters. The strongest correlations are with perceived loudness and sharpness of the impact sounds, and also with liveliness of feel. The less strong correlations with pleasantness of feel are indicative of the differences of opinion between players, especially of those that didn't fit within our groups A to C. Perceived loudness has also correlated strongly with calculated sharpness, indicating that sounds dominated by higher frequency components were perceived to be louder. For the old-fashioned type of club heads, the loudness levels and the sharpness levels were a lot lower of that of the new titanium sort of modern clubs. In summary, the aim of this study was to develop a relationship between the feel of a golf shot and the impact sound. In general, from the results and analysis, it shows that a shot was rated as having a pleasant feel if it had a loud, crisp, sharp sound and a lively feel. The characteristic sharpness and loudness of sound and pleasantness and liveliness of feel were found to be strongly correlated. A shot was rated as having a pleasant feel if it had a loud, sharp sound and a lively feel. Strong positive correlations were also obtained between the subjective ratings and the parameters of the impact sound, including pressure level, loudness and sharpness. In conclusion, it can be taken from this study and the analysis of the results that the sound of a golf shot does in fact affect the golfer's perception of the shot. When it's louder and sharper, it does make the golfer feel as though he's had a better shot. Thanks for watching today and I hope you enjoyed it. Normally I would ask if you've got any questions, but you're not here to ask them, So just please enjoy these outtakes instead.